Hi, welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bachynski. That is me, always with my two companions, Bones of Matt Cutts and the Bones of John Mueller. Today I have some super fascinating Google leaks from you from new and rare and heretofore unseen Googlers. New, rare, oh, adjust the cat. There we go, now you can see who I am. Hi. New Googlers. Yes, there's other Googlers. Now that Matt Cutts has kind of been gone for a while, the Googlers are crawling their way out of the woodwork, kind of like worms or something like that, and they spout little SEO rainbows of knowledge. SEO magic. So how's that for a metaphor? So I have them. I want to go through them. There's a lot of them. I'm going to go rapid fire, like really fast, like I did a couple of videos ago. If you have any questions at all, just email me or contact me and ask me what your questions are. You can always email me for SEO questions at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski, where I spout off SEO knowledge and I rant about things. And you can also watch more videos like this at youtube.com/jbachins. That's JBACHYNS. Okay, so let's get to the rapid fire stuff. February 11th, Eric Eng and a number of other SEOs interviewed Gary Ilyish. Gary works with John Mueller in the Zurich office for the Webmaster Trends Analyst team or something along those lines. And he was asked a bunch of questions I covered last video. There are a couple of things I forgot to mention that he said in that video which are important. One, he inadvertently admitted that having fresh new content and a bigger site does rank better. He said, and I quote, "If you have static content, you can rank as well." And then he went on to say, "Does not mean you cannot rank without that." But when he says that doesn't mean you can't rank without that, is to imply and to confirm the long-held SEO myth that yes, having a bigger site is better, and having fresh new content is also better as well, especially if it's any topic that even vaguely seems to Google like fresh content would be better than perennial content. Like the date of the Spanish Civil War is not going to change, but any information other than that is going to change, right? And so new information is always better in that regard. So yes, it's better having a bigger site and fresher content. If and only if you can maintain the quality and not run afoul of any quality problems. When he was asked how to rank, he said, and this was his answer, he said, well, how do we rank then? Gary, tell us how to rank. Let me adjust my glasses here so I don't look like I'm been punched in the head. Bang, Google's, no. Google couldn't KO me. Actually, yes, Google could KO me with all their, metaphorically speaking. The nerds couldn't probably KO me physically speaking, but at least 3 black belts on my part I hope would help me in some regard in that respect. But you never know. I mean, they could have 4 black belts. Who knows? It could be Batman working there for all I know. Although I would probably beat Batman. Sorry, tangent. When asked how to rank, Gary Ilyish was directly asked, okay, how do we rank then? He gave a point-blank answer. He said, and I quote, "Go onto social media, onto forums, tell them how awesome you are," and then he also said, "You want targeted users." So, I mean, this is pretty point-blank for me. He said, and I repeat, he said, go onto social media, post on social media, post on forums, tell them how awesome you are, and he said, you want targeted users, meaning buzz generation is important. Panda is user-based and matters, right? I've been saying for a long while now, and I think other people are starting to finally wake up and realize that Panda is user metric based. I believe it's part of RankBrain. I believe I have more evidence and proof to prove this to you in this hangout from another exotic Googler we never hear anything about who talked recently. And so because he doesn't talk with the public, he let a lot of stuff go. He doesn't talk with the public a lot. He's just a programmer. He's actually one of their programmers. One of the actual couple hundred search engineers actually talked, and I'm going to get to him in a second. So you want to go into social media, you want to go to forums, you want to tell them how awesome you are. I'm going to reinforce that again with a different Googler coming up. You want targeted users. That means you want users that are going to terminate the search, right? You want to give them exactly what they want. You probably want to aim for being lower in the sales funnel, people who are ready to make a purchase and not browsing around and looking around, because that noise might be hard for them to separate out whether they were satisfied or they're just browsing around. Okay, on February 12th, John Mueller said a couple things which were interesting. One, he indicated you should not bother disavowing a single link because it won't make a difference. I repeat, John Mueller said, point blank, on February 12th, you shouldn't bother disavowing a single link, like just one link. If you're going to put one link in disavow file, he said don't bother. because it won't make a difference, he said. Now, what does that mean? Well, I think it means that either links don't have that much of an effect for ranking anymore, they're a tertiary signal at best, and or the disavow file is for machine learning only, so it doesn't help them if you just put one link in the file. They want you to put whole domains. They want you to find spammy domains, even though you don't work for their user raters team, right? The web rater team. They want you to find spammy domains and put them in the disavow file so they can machine learn what these spammy domains are and get them out of their index. So Matt would explain why he would tell this person to, if you just have a single link you're worried about, don't even bother. Because consider the alternative. If the disavow file worked like some of my SEO compatriots say it does, and they sell this service to people, at least they used to. I don't think they do anymore. I think my Whiteboard Friday actually had an effect, and I think they're realizing that it doesn't really do anything. Maybe some of them do shadowily still do it. But I don't see them selling it very much anymore. I don't really see them talking about it very much anymore. So at least high five to me. Hopefully I helped stop some of that nefarious practice. If the disavow file worked like John Mueller kind of says it does, sometimes in the side of his mouth he admits it doesn't, and then or the way the people in the SEO industry think it does, like it's like a robots text file, like they stop cutting off that link juice. They stop crawling that page, they start cutting off that link juice. The way that Dr. Pete originally suggested over 4 or 5 years ago now, and then where they took that suggestion, that's how they made it. If it actually worked like that, like a switch, like there's a link in the disavow file, don't count that link, and they kind of processed it like a switch, like a programming switch, like an if program construct, if you will. People get annoyed when I call an if loop a loop, even though I've learned it. When I learned it, it was called an if loop. Sorry. In the C++ courses I took and the JavaScript courses I took and then taught, that's what I called it. Sorry. But I admit I'm not really a programmer. I was just kind of pushing images around with JavaScript anyway. Sorry, getting to the point. Did I say this was going to be rapid fire? It's going to be ramble fire. If the disavow file worked like John Mueller said it did, then putting even one link in there would be important, because at the very least it would cut off that link juice to your site if it was an important link to cut off, right? Either positively or negatively. John Mueller would say, yes, it matters. You have to pay attention to every single entry. He didn't. He didn't say that at all. He said the exact opposite. One link, it doesn't matter, who cares? That's what he said. You can go watch it yourself. So I think it's pretty clear that it doesn't really help. He also mentioned that text URL mentions have no PageRank boost, and therefore no ranking boost as far as he knows. As far as he knows. Remember, John Mueller does not work for the engineering team. I'm about to tell you what an actual Google engineer said. So whenever he says as far as he knows, then you can just take that. That's 50-50. I mean, you may as well ignore those suggestions, and I do for the most part, unless they correlate with other evidence and other suggestions that have been made and said and I've been proven in other places. But he did say, interestingly enough, in that one little part, just to conclude this part, he did say that any direct traffic you get from that text mention might give you an indirect boost, assuming that traffic liked what they found on your site. So that's what he did say. So that is very interesting as well, correlating what I've been talking about, that traffic, positive traffic anyway, boosts you, or at the very least, negative traffic that bounces back to Google is the very indication of low quality. That is the exact indication of low quality that you're tracking, and that will give you a demotion. Okay. On February 23rd, there was an experiment that proves high authority outgoing reference links. So if you outlink from your site to like citing your sources, or like saying, on this Wikipedia page, it proves what I was saying, blah, 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 blah. There's an SE roundtable. You can go read about it. On February 23rd, there was an experiment that indicated that if you take these links off and you put them back on, your rankings do increase or decrease. So that correlates with what the leaked raters guideline has already said, that I've already talked about years ago, and what I've been saying for a number of years. Okay, on February 23rd, John Mueller had another hangout where he said two interesting things. One, when asked about user actions as a ranking signal, in this case bounce rate, bounce back to SERP rate, John Mueller implied blocking users from poorly performing countries would be good to do, as long as you don't block Googlebot. He said that at approximately the 24-minute mark. So this is what do they call it again? It's a big long name for it. I'll tell you the exact name. They call it, when you want to search on Google, you want to search on YouTube, you want to search for the English Google Webmaster Central Offers Hours Hangout. that rolls trippingly off the tongue. For a company that wants to make us do marketing and branding and not, SEO black hat stuff, they should learn a little bit about branding themselves. It does not a very good name for branding's sake. So you want to search for the February 23rd English Google Webmaster Central Offers Hours Hangout, and look at the 24-minute mark for where John Mueller says that blocking traffic from poorly performing countries would be a very good thing to do regarding bounce rate and user actions. That's what he was asked about. He also said, in reference to Penguin and Links, that their web spam algo can hit the entire site if just one section of the site or section of backlinks is problematic. So he said that's more than just one links or 5 links on a page, but less than the total links. So that's fascinating. This new web spam algorithm that they've been working on, either the new Penguin that's coming out or the one that's currently running. Remember, they have web spam algorithms, they have link algorithms that currently run. Says that it can hit the entire site or just one section of the site or a section of your backlinks if it's problematic. So that could very well be bubbling up to the manual team because it sounds a lot like what the manual team already does. So it's probably what he was talking about there. And I suspect whenever he's talking about the web spam algos, he's talking about it bubbling up to the manual teams that they could very well be automating. Because remember, they always want to delete employees, they always want to fire employees, and they always want to get a program to do it because it's they think it saves them money. They think it's better that way. I'm not going to tell you the philosophical reasons why they think that is, but that's what they do. That's their philosophical position. Always has been, and probably always will be. So again, that's not, you don't have to worry about one link or 5 links, but if you have a whole section of links, or you have a whole kind of type of link or paradigm of link, or a whole section of the sites that are getting links, they can hit just the section or they can hit the whole site. Okay. So on March 2nd, I was doing some research myself. I'm going to be one of the resources I'm going to tell you about in this hangout. And so I have a pro SEO tip for you. Pay very close attention to the related searches. So for example, there was a website I recently took a look at that sold crystal trophies, like crystal awards. And if you take a look at the related searches for this company, it's very interesting what you find. And this kind of is another thing to highlight Google's entity search and Google's semantic search they're doing now. Remember, I recently looked at the stats, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but they know about millions and millions and millions of entities at this point. Hundreds of millions of synonyms, dozens of millions of entities, if not hundreds of millions. It was a very, very high number, like very impressive number. And so they know about things. They know about websites that have people that do stuff, that what your services you do and where you are, and they know all that information, right? And you can tell that by looking at your related searches. And it's more important if it's off. Like so for example, so for this particular site, the related searches, had Fine Awards, coupon code, Fine Awards discount code, Crystal Awards, it had, they know what kind of stuff that they have. So this is the company name. They know what you do, that you sell awards, and maybe you'd like a coupon code for that, and they offered that in the related searches. They know who your competitors are, right? There was another company called Crown Awards, and they knew that was their major competitor. So think about that for a second. Google knew that this company sold awards, what it was called, knew what its main competitors were, reputable competitors that would also rank very well on the page. Basically, those two companies dominate that search page. More or less on some queries, but in some queries not. So they knew this from the entity side of things, I believe, and are saying, oh, maybe you want to check these guys out instead in the related searches. They know where they work because they started talking about the place they're located. In this case, it was a city a sub-city in Los Angeles. And so that was fascinating that they knew that information, but what's more fascinating from an SEO diagnostic standpoint is if they don't have that. So if you do a search for yourself and you see the related searches are all completely across the board, you need to rewrite your site because Google, and you need to change your schema, your microdata, because Google doesn't know what you're about, right? So it's just another little SEO pro tip. It's not like the first thing to check, but it's a thing you can check. It's an interesting thing you can check, and you can check it like that. Check the related searches for your site to see what Google thinks who you are and what you are about and what you do. You can tell that a lot of that by the related searches. Okay, now here's one of the very interesting things. On March 16th at SMX West, Paul Haar, a search engineer from Google, one of the actual engineers who actually programs search engineering, not someone who manages the engineers like Matt Cutts did on the web spam team, or Amit Singhal did for the entire search team, not someone working for the Webmaster Trends Analyst department, where they essentially do public relations. They do like testing, and they run the top contributor forums, and they do stuff like that. They do like customer outreach, they do public relations, and they do some debugging for them. To my knowledge, most of them don't do any programming, except for Gary Ilyish, to my knowledge, and he did write the HTTPS boost algo. Probably was like, just here, you go take that, blah, 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 blah. And they don't work for any kind of other team like that. Like Miley OU works for kind of like a program tech lead, things like that. So kind of more planning stuff. This is an actual engineer from Google. So it's very interesting what he says. It's very unvarnished. It's very programmer speak, so I'll try and go through it. So you can actually watch the video on YouTube if you want to know what it is. I'll give you the, it's just Paul Haar, search engineer, SMX West. You can probably get it from that. So his name is Paul, last name Haar, H-A-A-H-R, H-A-A-H-R. You can probably find that. He was with Gary Ilyish. You can find it on YouTube, or the actual YouTube URL is I, uppercase J, uppercase P, U4V, uppercase H, E, T, X, lowercase w. Again, on YouTube, it's I, uppercase J, uppercase P, U, 4V, uppercase H, uppercase E, uppercase T, uppercase X, lowercase w. That is the actual end of the YouTube URL. You could search that on YouTube as well. You can find that as well that way. So here's the actual video you can watch. So, and also I have a slide deck for it too if you want to look at the slide deck. So it's very fascinating what he was talking about. So if you want a little bit more reference for this, there's going to be a little bit more pro, but with some really good generic things I can infer from it for any kind of person into SEO, whether you're a beginner or not. So if you want more information about it, email me. I can explain more, or you can go see the slide deck. You can watch the video yourself. So he's talking about the life cycle of the query and what search engineers do. And a couple of things he said. First off, he said it's very interesting when they crawl the web. So before they get the query, they crawl the web, they analyze the crawled pages, they extract all the links out. But they also now render the content, render it in a browser, and annotate the semantics to get more of an entity database thing. So it's interestingly, he said, and I quote, "It used to be just links, but now it is much more." So he said, back in the day, when we crawled the page, all we did was extract links, really. I imagine they did some keyword stuff too. But now it is much more, he said. So they render content. So remember, they're rendering the page. They don't show that to you in Search Console just for the kindness of their hearts. Everything they do, every single thing they do has a monetary reason behind it. And in this case, it's a ranking reason behind it because they want SEOs to fall in line and do what it is they want them to do. And so everything they put in Search Console and a lot of what they put in Google Analytics is for our benefit as SEOs. I know this to be a fact because I've talked with Google at these conferences, so I know what they're doing. They've told me. So a lot of the time. I mean, not everything for Google Analytics, because it's a separate product and a separate team, blah, 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 blah. Search Console, definitely. So that's why they're rendering it in Search Console. That's why you should pay attention to how they render it in Search Console. It's important, and they've said point blank that it will be a ranking problem for you if what they see and what users see are not the same thing. They call that cloaking, and that's why they show you both versions. That's a problem. So they tell you if it's a medium problem or a high problem if certain resources are being blocked. And I believe I'm getting from what he talked about when they're rendering the content in this process. They're actually checking for the quality of a page based on the design and checking on areas they can then use to heat map, to use a heat map software. That's my opinion. That's my speculation. Other than obtuse comments that Google has made here and there, I have no direct evidence for it. So I'll fully admit I have no direct evidence for it other than I know they can do it. I know they can do heat map software in Chrome. There's no reason why they can't. There's no reason why they couldn't pull that information, and there's no reason why it wouldn't be useful. It'd be extremely useful to tell if users are enjoying the page or not, statistically speaking. Yeah, they can cut down the noise, but if they can tell this page is a home run, or this page is terrible, they can tell that through heat mapping as well. They can tell if people convert, right? Because if you ever used heat mapping software, you can see where the eyes go or where the mouse goes, and that's usually what they're doing. they're looking at. So it's interesting, but remember, whatever they're doing now, they are rendering the content and they are using that for ranking. They are using the rendering of the content for ranking, because this discussion was about ranking. So it's very important, and remember, they're also annotating the semantics, meaning they're parsing the semantics. They're linking up synonyms, the meanings, making an entity database, they're extracting addresses. And what else do they extract? I think they extract the last updated text, the date at the top. They're extracting the H1 keywords, they're extracting all that kind of information. Remember, they do all that kind of stuff. So the silo structure is important. Relational pages are important. Making sure you have keywords in the page name and or the title. The H1 at the top, only one H1 at the top. Maybe an ordered list. You know, on this page you will find blah blah blah. You know, that kind of semantic. They're looking for those kinds of things. You want to, as clearly as possible, tell the user and tell Google what this page is about, kind of like you're informing a 5-year-old above the fold, above 500 pixels. Also, it's very interesting that Google is still keyword-based. When he talked about the index, he said it's like the index of a book, and for each word, a list of pages it appears on is made up. And that's broken into millions of pages, groups of millions of pages that each word exists. You know, each word has its own index, and that's called a shard, right? And so that's what they have, thousands of shards for the shards for the web index. And so whenever you do a Google search, you're not getting web pages, you're getting shards, right? You're getting the shards back. Actually, first you're getting entities, then you're getting the shards back. And I'll talk about that in a second, because he talked about that. And then so they use per document metadata to rank the documents in these shards, and they come up with what he calls a score. So, and he also mentioned at this point that and this is another very interesting thing. He talked about their query modeling, and that when they get the query, so that was talking about before the query. Now, when they get the query, they match the query to entities first. So, and they always serve you entities first. So he used the example of Matt Cutts and something else, Nestle Quick or something, and that they know that's an entity, that's a product and a person, and what kind of product it is, and what kind of person that is, and what that person does, and what they know about. They know all these things in the entity database. So you want to become an entity, because entities get served first in this process. He said it point blank. So if you can become an entity, you will get a huge ranking boost, and you will get served first. I know I'm comparing apples and oranges, but that's essentially how it works. The entities will go in the knowledge panel. The entities are going to get primary real estate up top if it's an entity-based query, and you can be the entity they're looking for. Easier said than done, but still important. And then they look for synonyms of what you possibly were looking for, and then they select the shards. So remember, Hummingbird was a complete algo rewrite in June 2013. That's the synonym entity bit he's talking about. So Hummingbird first looks for entities, then looks for the synonyms, and then gives you the ye olde Google shards that are ranked on PageRank and other stuff like that. So this kind of query deserves diversity is built right into, it seems to be built right into the fundamental system of how they serve it. And then he leaked some ranking signals. You want the ranking signals he leaked? Here they are. Ba, 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 ba. They are kind of interesting and kind of not, but they're interesting. So he actually leaked them. He leaked 6 particular ones. 3 ranking signals that they use are query dependent, and 3 ranking signals they use are query independent. So the query independent ranking signals that he leaked, which are the features of a page, so these are page-related ranking signals. He said PageRank. And then, although Andrei Lipatsev, who is another Googler I'll be talking about in a second, he already mentioned point blank that social mentions on Twitter, in fact, are a link. I'll get to that in a second. So social mentions on Twitter, text mentions, URL mentions, he said that's all a link. When he says links, that's included in links. So that's all included in PageRank as far as he knows. So John Mueller didn't know. Remember, John Mueller doesn't know everything. Andrei said they were. So this is why you got to listen to all the different Googlers, or at the very least listen to me, who listens to all the different Googlers, and I can explain what they mean, because I've been listening to them ever since they've been saying stuff. The second query independent ranking signal he leaked, Paul Haar leaked, was language. So we can infer from that you writing the proper language for your location is a ranking signal. That's very, very important. I mean, all these we already know, but I'm just going to reiterate them because he leaked them. And using hreflang is very important as well. So you're trying to rank for, the UK, you're going to be writing UK language. have the hreflang set for UK, et cetera, or at least your language and Search Console set for UK, et cetera. And finally, mobile friendliness. And John Mueller has recently admitted in our Hangout that AMP, the Accelerated Mobile Pages Protocol, HTML language that they made, is already a ranking boost, is already given a ranking boost, a huge ranking boost. And it's very mobile friendly. So you should seriously consider probably switching to it because they're already giving a ranking boost to it. If you can swallow the Google controlling more of your website, and if you can swallow the fact you can't monetize it anyway, except for AdSense. Yes. So yes, Google is going there. Google has gone there, in fact. With no one to stop them, except for me ranting against them, which they couldn't give a shit about. Which hardly anyone can give a shit about. That's fine. And the three query-dependent ranking factors he leaked were these. One, keyword hits. So hits in specific areas. So yes, keyword density in key areas are important. So as I said, the page name and/or the title, the H1 lists and the ordered list and the content. That's all the information I have from my correlation research and from direct Google leaks, confirmed on various places Google leaks. Synonyms as well. Synonyms are going to be important. They are also a ranking factor in and of themselves. The second query-dependent ranking factor. So partial match, they give a query deserves diversity kind of boost to partial match synonyms, it looks like, either on that page or from other pages, I'm not quite sure. So you don't just want to focus on just your keyword, you want to write naturally about it. That's probably one of the protections from spam. You want to write naturally about it using the natural synonyms and whatnot. And finally, proximity. So the word he used was proximity as a ranking signal. I don't know what that means. It probably means the proximity of the searcher to the service in local search. That's probably what he was talking about there. But he could have very well meant proximity in terms, sometimes they talk about proximity in terms of where the keyword is located on the page or things like that. So again, you want the keywords up or closer to the top of the page, and then I'll tell them what that page is about. Okay, and the next thing is very interesting. He fully admitted his job is to look for new signals and combine old signals in new ways. I repeat, he said point blank, he fully admitted that his job is entirely to look for new signals to rank on and to combine old signals in new ways. So this is just a note out there for people who are still doubting Thomases that Google is using new signals. They are. Paul Hart just admitted that is the entirety of his job, right? And he's an actual search engineer, not the public relations people that we should always listen to with a grain of salt. So, yeah. So, I mean, he verbatim admitted he looks for new signals and he combines old signals in new ways. Like, oh, I don't know, click data. Like, oh, I don't know, no follow links, text mentions, links, all these kinds of signals they have access to. Everything on a page is a signal to them. Andrei Lepatsev has admitted that. Everything on a page is a signal to them. And so if Paul Hart tells us that he combines old signals in new ways, that means they're looking at the signals they have access to. And Andrei Lepatsev has also admitted he's working out of the Dublin office. He's a senior search quality analyst. So he kind of he's in the same kind of realm as John Mueller and Gary Illich. Again, kind of debugging the queries and public relations and customer service. He said that whatever signals they have access to, like links and stuff that's on the page, that's the safest signals is what they'll go for first. And so just remember that it's not just about links anymore. And I know probably anyone listening to my videos probably already understands this because I've been telling you this for years, because I've been tracking these changes for years. But, I mean, it's becoming more and more obvious that that's what Paul Hart is talking about. And that's what Google's talking about. They're looking at new signals. They're not going to tell us what they are. So don't bother asking them point blank what they are, because they're not going to tell you. You have to ask them in clever, roundabout ways. The more you ask them, they're just going to dig in, and then no one will get any information. So stop being an idiot and asking them point blank questions that they cannot answer. What do you think they're going to say? Are you using user clicks in your ranking system? They're going to say no, even if they are, and they are. There's plenty of evidence to suggest, and they've said in roundabout ways they are. They've said to people behind the scenes that they are. But publicly they cannot admit that. So stop asking them, you idiots. Okay. Then Paul Hart admits the most important thing they do is, does the page usefully answer the user's query? Remember, whether it's useful to the user is very important to them. And then how good is each page? So usefulness and quality is the most important metrics that they have to tell whether they're doing well or not. And he clearly admits they track clicks, at least for determining experiment success. And it was implicitly kind of talked about how this bias is built into Google. Then he goes on to say there's 3 cardinal rules for quality. There's page quality concepts, and these are essentially the ones from the Rater's Guideline. Expertise of the author or the content, authoritativeness of the author or content, trustworthiness of the author or content. So he was later asked. Down here. I'll skip to that. He was asked by what's his name? Of course, he runs SMX West. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Danny Sullivan. Of course, Danny Sullivan directly asked him in a Q&A after this, which you can also watch. I have the YouTube video for that too. Was directly asked how they determine if an author has expertise. And he wouldn't go into it, means it can be gamed, right? Whenever a Google employee refuses to answer, it means it can be gamed. And they just haven't come up with a public relations speech for it yet. They were much smarter when they tried to divert our attention back to links and divert our attention back to the old signals we already know about, because A, they're not that important anymore, B, they have very robust spam systems to handle that, and C, it's not really going to do anything. So they divert all the manipulation back to the old signals like links and keywords and things like that can't really hurt them anymore. And they're just verbatim, like Gary Ilyish said, I'm just not answering that. Paul Har said, I can't answer that, I'm not answering that. So it's a dead giveaway. Whenever they say, I can't answer that, that means, yes, we are using it, and it can be gamed. Because if it couldn't be gamed, they would tell us. And if they weren't using it, they would tell us. So that was a dumb move on their part. I mean, Matt Cutts was much smarter coming up with those answers. So Paul Har admits that they are fully determining algorithmically how an author has expertise. It's not related on their real author anymore. That was just a test case they used to machine learn the other signals they could use, and then they don't use it anymore. So in my opinion, it has to be, there's nothing else it could be. It has to be publications on the topic. How many publications, how many pages that author have on that topic, both the quality of the publications and the quantity of publications, and the social clout of that author, and / the semantic on that topic. So I saw this happen with myself, right? When I didn't talk about SEO that much when I was in academia, and I started talking about SEO because I was doing it behind the scenes just to get by, to get my way through academia. Then I quit academia, decided to do SEO full-time. I started talking about it full-time, and suddenly, boom, I would rank it for all these SEO queries. Because Google finally saw on Twitter and YouTube talking about SEO, they knew it was all about SEO, and so now they rank me for SEO-related queries and stuff like that. So, I mean, I've seen it myself, right? So, I mean, they clearly have that going. So let me go back up here to Paul Har's presentation. And remember, the Rater's guideline that they leaked, and they posted kind of a whitewashed version, and the actual versions have been leaked, is extremely important because it explains kind of everything that the search engineers do. The search engineers work hand in hand with the human raters. And he admitted this point blank here. He said, what do? We try to move the human rated websites up, and so we move the results with good human ratings up, and we try to algorithmically move the results with the bad ratings down. I repeat, he said, algorithmically, this is what I do all day, and all my other 200 or 300 search engineers at Google do all day. We move the results, we try to algorithmically move the results with good human ratings up, and we try to algorithmically move the results with bad human ratings from the human raters down. So, if anybody goes to you and says, well, just because it's in the Rater's Guideline doesn't mean it's in their algorithms, they are an idiot. They have no idea what they're talking about. That is the express purpose of the human raters for Google, is to give them information that the programmers try every single day of their lives, all few hundred of them, PhD, best trained, best programmers in the world, to make their algorithms move certain things up based on what the human raters say in the human raters guidelines. And what the human raters rate as badly, as per the rules of the human raters guidelines, down. So the human raters guidelines is an SEO guide. And I've said that before. I've done videos on that before. You can check my YouTube channel for the human raters guidelines. If you have any questions about that, you can also just email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. So anyone who says that that's not directly related to SEO, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just putting their head in the sand. They just don't want to think about it. They won't be working in this industry for very long. They'll move over to PPC. They'll move over to AdWords if they can figure out how to do that out. That's getting more complex. They'll probably just, do some content writing because they really have no idea what they're talking about. And quite frankly, some of the people I can think about who say that really don't do SEO actually very much anymore. They're doing kind of more marketing consultation, or they're doing stuff with lawyers as expert witnesses, or they write SEO blogs and they don't actually do SEO for any sites. And they kind of work as a part of the Google PR wing, either probably unofficially, pathetically. I have more respect for this person. I'm talking about cough, cough, Barry. If he was actually paid by Google, he's not. He just gets paid from Google telling them he's great, like patting him on the head. It's kind of pathetic, really. Okay. Oh, did I say that out loud? I did, because it's true. So yes, I mean, if it's not in their algorithms yet, it soon will be in the Human Writers Guideline. But it mostly is. It mostly is. I mean, they're the best programmers in the world. Do not ever make a bet against Google's programmers. Don't ever say to yourself, they can't. There's no way they can access that. Yes, they can. If it's even vaguely possible they can access it, yes, they can. And if it's useful for them to use it in a global sense, yes, they will. So that's why I say it's not probably dangerous to use Google Analytics or Search Console, because they couldn't use that and they fully admitted they don't have that much of a user base. So they can't use it, although they've looked at using it. They fully admit they've looked at it, using it, but they can't use it globally, right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean they're not using it, though. They can still use it tangentially in some cases. With RankBrain, with the AI doing the decisions of what ranks or not, it can check a million factors like that. So yeah, they can throw it in there, right? So yeah, throw it in there. Check to see the analytics bounce rate. Check to see the analytics drop-off exit rate, the analytics stats that actually matter to tell you whether or not the user was actually happy or not. Conversion goals, they have it specified. Go ahead, check it. And it could be one factor out of like 1,000 that they use to rank you or derank you. There's no reason why RankBrain can't do that. It's an AI. It can check a million factors like that. Okay. Now, even faster than that. Like that. Okay, so then they had a QA after that in a separate video that I've already kind of mentioned. I'm going to go through this now. And Gary Ilyich was in this one too. So I told you, exotic Googlers. And so, so here is the beautiful thing. Paul Harr was asked pretty point blankly about RankBrain, and Paul Harr is not used to talking to the public, and so he, in his programmer nerd, he just let the beans fly. He just started telling people, so pay close attention. He said first, and I quote, RankBrain plugs into the post query box. So I didn't talk about that. It's not really that important, but it's important as a piece of proof that RankBrain is Panda. This is probably the best piece of proof, the second best piece of proof that I've ever had that RankBrain is Panda. The first one was that they announced RankBrain and a core algorithm update and admitted Panda was a core algorithm update all in the same week. There's one piece of proof. Second piece of proof is they've been admitting that Panda is based on query data and, Panda is based on query data and user metrics. Andrei Lepatsev has admitted to me in email. Yes, I still email with Google occasionally. For those Googlers who still talk to me. Not all of them do anymore, of course, after I pissed off Matt and Matt quit. And John Mueller knows that I'm making a documentary about Google, so he doesn't talk to me much anymore. Even though I have his email address as well, of course. As all top SEOs do, have been working in the industry for over 15 years. They also have a huge ego. And dinosaur things, bones things. And photographs, expensive photographs he buys when he's drunk in Vegas. Anyway, that's a long story short. Paul Harr said that RankBrain plugs into the post query box with demotions and penalties. That RankBrain is applied after the fact as like a filter with Panda and Penguin and all those other things after the shards are pulled up and then everything is sorted. So again, that's another piece of positive proof that RankBrain is Panda, or that RankBrain powers Panda, or that there's some kind of correlation there. Also, he said that they give RankBrain training data at that time. What kind of training data would this be? Training data outside of pages and links and things like that. And then he says, RankBrain, sees, because Danny Sullivan was being good, and he was just pressuring him on this point, right? And Paul Harr's not used to answering Danny Sullivan's questions, and so he cracked. And here he said it. He said, RankBrain, sees not just web pages, it sees queries and other signals. Boom. There you go. He says, RankBrain sees not just web pages, it sees queries and other signals. And then he refused to talk anymore about it, realizing he'd already spilled too much. So you can watch the video for yourself to see if you interpret it any differently. I have the URL here. I'll tell it to you. It's kind of useless. Actually, I don't know if those are ones or I's or capital I. So email me. I'll send it to you. Or actually, I can also post it in the comments too. If I forget to post it in the comments, someone comment and I'll post it in the comments. But he says that they give RankBrain training data. He admitted that it's an algorithm that's applied after the fact when they are doing the demotions and penalties rankings. It's more evidence that it's a demotion as well. I've speculated that it's actually a demotion, that Panda is just a demotion. It doesn't rank sites. It actually deranks them probably. And RankBrain, sees not just web pages, it sees queries and other signals. The other signals is obviously clicks. It's obviously clicks. That's what the Panda patent from 2012 was all about, generating a quality score based on query to click satisfaction ratio. That's what it's obviously about. That's what I think RankBrain is obviously about. So I think that's one and the same thing. They update in the same schedule. They're applied at the same time in the query lifecycle. They use the same data. When I asked Andrei Lepatsev, how do you optimize your site for RankBrain? He gave me the Panda list. He said, I'm not joking. Literally this list, not joking. He gave me the Panda list. I'll get to that in a second. So clearly RankBrain is Panda. Clearly it's based on user clicks. Clearly user clicks matter. Clearly you got to fix your website. Sorry, those people who are putting their heads in the sand and saying, no, I don't want to do it. Can I just buy some links, Josh, please? No, sorry. You have to make your website better. Yeah, we might need to buy some links too, but you need to make your website better. That's the first thing we should do. I rank sites on that alone. I have sites ranking because they have conversion rates of 60% or 70% with no links, literally 0 links. Okay. And then and I told you about the author thing. Okay, so that's the end of that. I told you I was going to go rapid fire. I'm at 42 minutes. Well, let's make it an hour. What the hell? Because I said I would get to this. Okay, so here's another thing from me, another SEO source. On March 16th, I had a realization. And so this is just from the SEO tinfoil hat category, but I'm just going to throw it out there because you might find it interesting. I did. Months ago on SEO Roundtable, a guy said he removed his disavow file accidentally, and lo and behold, 10 days later, his rankings shot up. So I repeat, this guy accidentally deleted his disavow file, which had hundreds of domains in it, or thousands of domains in it, maybe, and then accidentally he did this. And then 10 days later, his rankings shot up. So some people were saying, well, look, that means the disavow file does something. I'm like, yeah, it penalizes your site. Maybe is what it does, right? Removing it seems to help. But I don't think that's the case. Because with hundreds or thousands of links, 10 days is not a lot of time to get those spidered. Many linking pages are not going to be visited again for months. Many months, right? So he wouldn't share his URL, so I can't go check that. But I did think, and this is the interesting part, I did think John Mueller did specifically admit on the December 29th hangout, he did the massive end-of-year hangout he does in 2015. He admitted to a lovely young lady who asked him a direct question of exactly how long Panda and the quality algorithms will take to release her site. And again, as I mentioned, if you're an attractive young lady, please go and ask John Mueller questions because he seems to have a soft spot for you or a weakness to you. And he will just blurt out answers. And if I asked him, being an ugly, hairy man, if I asked him, he would be like, and knowing I'm an SEO and I'm tricky, and not trusting me now to begin with, I will not get any answers. I don't bother going on there anymore, right? But, attractive young ladies seem to be the Achilles heel of Mr. Mueller, as it is for so many men. Or so I'm told. Or so I am told. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So John Mueller admitted that 10 days is exactly the amount of time that John Mueller specified for the on-page based quality algorithms to do their processing and then promote or demote a site. So think about that for a second. That's awfully coincidental that it was exactly 10 days. I told you it was tinfoil hat category, but it's still interesting to think about for a second. It was exactly 10 days. This guy deleted his disavow file and he popped out. That's probably too soon to have spidered a lot of links or any substantive links. Maybe one or two really important ones that were really bad. So maybe the disavow file does do something. Hey, I'll go on the evidence, right? And I got one or two pieces of evidence that the disavow file might do something that I cannot corroborate, and I have like 50 pieces of evidence that show it doesn't do anything that I have corroborated. So I go by the evidence. But there's another piece of evidence that I'm factoring in. And I'm watching the disavow file very closely for when the new Penguin rolls out to see if it does do anything, because I hope to God that it does, because otherwise we're going to have a negative SEO nightmare. But 10 days is also the exact same time John Mueller said it takes for the on-page quality algorithms. He didn't say on-page, I'm saying on-page. But he said there are some quality algorithms that would take up to about 10 days after crawling your site, and there's some quality algorithms that will take up to possibly 6 months, depending on your site and your industry. Those are the click-based ones to filter out the noise that Google complains about on a regular basis and uses the excuse as to why they're not using this, although I believe they are, and it's clear they are. So that it takes that long for them to filter out the noise to get a baseline actual click quality score of user satisfaction based on clicks they can trust, and then see deviations from that and compare that to all the other sites on the SERP. It takes them that long to get something meaningful, which is why Panda takes that long before they make these kinds of adjustments. And it's still early, so they got to review it kind of manually as well. So I found that interesting. So take that for what you will, that the disavow file could very well be a RankBrain style spam factor. It could be one of those thousands of factors the AI can check like that. It says, have a disavow file? Yep, because RankBrain can choose its own factors. You realize that's what it means to have an artificial intelligence doing this. That it chooses its own factors. It gets all the factors Google has, they give it to RankBrain and say, you figure it out. We're tired of choosing ranking factors. That's what RankBrain is if you haven't figured it out yet, if you don't realize that. That's why it's an artificial intelligence. That's why Paul Harr said in this video, if you go watch it, you'll see, he says, we don't know what RankBrain is doing. He says that. Other engineers, Greg, I can't remember his last name, the guy who made RankBrain, he says, we don't know what RankBrain is doing because it chooses its own signals, and a disavow file could very well statistically highly be used on spammy sites. And it makes sense because at least it proves you're at least aware of SEO to have filled out a disavow file. And if you're aware of SEO, statistically, you're probably a little bit guilty by association. It's kind of like the old original sin from the Catholics, right? You know, even though you weren't there for the deed, you were there 9 months later. You're still kind of guilty from the deed, right? So I think RankBrain could be like, yep, 98% of these sites that also have high spam quality factors from this also had a disavow file. So now I'm using the disavow file as a factor that could corroborate that I believe in my decisions, RankBrain saying to itself as an artificial intelligence, these are spammy sites and I derank them. It's possible. And the 10 days is the exact correlation it would take to pop that up or down. You would think, maybe, but maybe not. Because if RankBrain takes months to, well, that on the on-page side of things. But I think RankBrain is only working on the click side of things. I don't know, RankBrain is being used for a lot of different things. So maybe they're using it for that as well, for the on-page factors as well. Because it would make perfect sense. Because again, it would choose its own factors and rank or derank based off of that. What it's statistically stepped. Now, okay, so the last thing I'll probably cover, because I don't want to go over an hour for crying out loud. Okay, the last one here is Andrei Lepatsev. He is a senior search quality analyst working, I believe, in the Dublin office, or somewhere in Ireland anyway, probably the Dublin office. I don't believe Google has offices anywhere else in Ireland but Dublin. And I don't believe they have anything in Northern Ireland, which is a totally different country. I emailed him some questions, and he directly emailed me back. So this is a personal correspondence between him and I that I'm going to share with you. Yes, you, my beloved listeners and critiquers, I'm going to share this with you. No one else has heard this before. This is completely just between us. I asked him, how or in what way is RankBrain the third largest ranking factor? And he told me, and quote, I'm going to read out what he said. Third largest, most important is misleading in my opinion, he said. Although I understand that Greg is proud of his improvement. It does affect a large number of queries, so you could look at it like that. Not that it's third in terms of queries it affects, but it does a lot of work. So I wouldn't focus on the number 3 at all, really. Okay, good. Thanks, Andre. That didn't really help us very much, but it's interesting that I got a Googler talking directly to me. I said, okay, how do we make sure RankBrain likes our sites? And then this is where he gave me the more guidance on building high quality content. The original Amit's thing on which Matt Cutts wrote and put Amit's name on, by the way. Only people in the search industry for a long time actually know that, like me. And all these white hats who go to the SMX conferences think that they're the best friends of Google because they went and danced with them at the Google dance. Sorry. It's getting warm in my room, so I'm starting to get lightheaded. So when I asked him, how can we make sure RankBrain likes our sites, this is what I mentioned previously. He sent back the more guidance on building high-quality sites, the Amit all 23 questions, which they've kind of beefed up now. It's different. And he said, I'm not even kidding. That's what he said verbatim, and I'm not even kidding. Meaning that's a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge between him and me that, yes, it's about quality sites. Yes, it's Panda. Yes, they're the same thing. Yes, they're user-click based. Because then I asked, if you back off crawling due to load or slowness, do you back off trust for that site? And he said, there is no trust. That's wrong. Paul Haar admitted there was trust in his presentation I just talked about. He talked about trustworthiness. So there is trust. So again, you can't listen to one Google person. You can't just latch on to one Google person and that can be your guy or gal. Miley Oyi is quite good. And a lot of her suggestions, you could actually just quite listen to her and do a lot of what she says. But you've got to listen to all of them because they all don't know the entire picture. Even the search engineers don't know what RankBrain is doing anymore. They fully admit it. So they don't know what signals RankBrain is using, right? This is what an AI does. It makes its own decisions on what it's going to use based on parameters you give it. And then it checks to make sure that people like it by clicking it, and then it knows it did well, and it just goes on its own and does it. And so he said, there is no trust. I don't know what you mean by trust here. I know that crawling is independent of ranking, and he said, this is the important part, but that speed and availability are definitely taken into account when we decide what to show. So he told you that crawling is independent of ranking, but crawling is part of ranking, and that the slower you are, the less they're going to crawl. And so speed is directly a factor. And it doesn't have to be 20 seconds. Remember, they don't really even say that anymore. Now they say that speed is a factor. Remember, they don't really say it anymore because RankBrain could very well choose speed as a factor, right? So speed is a factor, and the faster you are, the better. Definitely under 3 seconds. Even faster if you can. Faster than your competitors for sure, because now I think it's a factor. If you can cheaply, in like only like 50 extra bucks a month or 100 extra bucks a month, you can change your design to be faster, and you can definitely in the mobile, definitely it's a factor. Like 150% is a factor in mobile, and I'm 100% sure it's a factor in desktop as well, just not as much a factor as some other things. But if you can be faster than your competitors, I guarantee that it'll be a boon for you in terms of ranking. Directly or indirectly in terms of clicks, right? User clicks. So speed and availability, don't serve 500 errors or 400 errors and stuff like that. So then I asked this question. So the two last questions are the gems, really. I asked, if users love my site and complete their tasks, can I trust my site as high quality? See what I'm asking there? I'm asking, well, I'll get to it in a second what I'm asking. So I asked, if users love my site and most complete their tasks, can I trust my site as high quality? And he said, and I quote, that's definitely the right way to look at it from the user's perspective. I would just remember that what is great for some users might not be so great for others. Echoing what Miley Oyi said 3 years ago now about having different user profiles and getting task completion for each different user profile. I wonder why Miley Oyi, out of the kindness of her heart, made that video years ago. Why? Because Google was going that direction, and she's telling us. Google tells SEOs everything they need to know. You just need to know how to interpret what it is they're saying and not listen to the wrong parts and be negative and be like, they can't do it. They said they're not, so they're not. It's reading between the lines of what they do say and what they don't say. So anyway, I asked, if users love my site and complete their tasks, can I trust then that my site is high quality? And he said that's definitely the way to look at it from the user's perspective. Just remember that what is great for some users may not be great for others. So you need to look at the entirety of your users, of the life cycle of the query, what they're looking for on that page. Did they get a solution? Remember, RankBrain is parsing it down to a one-to-one scenario. They want to hire a rental car. Can they hire a rental car on that page, yes or no? I don't care if you tell them about the rental cars of 1800s and all the other crap, SEO shit you put on this page because you think it'll help you rank. It doesn't. They want, if it's a service-based query, they want a service page. information query, they want an information page. No deviations, right? It's got to be very focused, one-to-one, horse blinders on like that. Oh, parting my hair the wrong way. Oh, I messed my hair all up. It's very important. A foul boon, men's vanity. Perhaps I should grow a beard. Hey, you know what? I have another SEO contest for you. Whoever can tell me what movie that was from and the actor who spoke it, I will give you 30% off your SEO audit. That's right. I will give you 30%. It's really warm in this room. I'm feeling very lightheaded. I will give you 30% off your SEO audit if you can tell me where that line came from and who said it. Don't Google it. Try and do it from your own memory. Google it if you want. But I'll give 30% off to the first person who says it in the comments. That's what I will do. Okay. And then I said, he said so it's, remember, you got to look at the entirety of all your users on that page. Make sure they all like the page. Make sure your pages are only on one topic so you don't get this bleed. Don't make your pages about multiple topics. Or preferably not, because then what's going to happen is you're going to get people who go there and kind of like, meh, wishy-washy, and they bounce. So you're pleasing, you're really satisfying 30% of people, but the other 70% are kind of like, wah, wah, and RankBrain's going to pick that up. You have that on too many of your pages, RankBrain's going to pick that up, and you're going to go, pfft. Okay. And then I asked, so my full question was this: if users love my site and complete most of their tasks, can I trust my site-to-site quality? He said, that's the way to look at it. And then I said, or are there sometimes on-page factors that are listed as low quality in Google's system regardless of whether users love it or not? So you see what I did there? I'm forcing them to tell me whether they have on-page spam, on-page quality algorithms, which I know they do, and click-based factors, which I suspect they're going to move to entirely and get rid of the on-page ones. Because ultimately, whether the user clicks or not is satisfied. That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter how much you annoy them on the way. It's just their own elitism that thinks they can dictate how many ads you can have above the fold and shit like that. So I'm waiting for them to grow a brain and live up to the philosophical standard of a democratic web, and them not, ruling it, and instead going based on what the clicks say, at least, because practicing what they preach, so to speak. And he said to me on that, he said, there are certainly on and off-page factors that ultimately reflect user experience, meaning Google